You know, John, as we're watching this unfold, let's just give a little sense of perspective. 2 weeks ago today, on January 6th, we saw what was there's the Speaker, Nancy Pelosi. She's there, obviously, as well. We saw a riot emerge, an angry pro-Trump mob storming this building where we are right now. And then a week later, we saw the second impeachment of President Trump. And now the inauguration of this new president of the United States. Within 2 weeks, look at the drama that has unfolded.
And as we look at the drama, we have to remember the world is watching the drama unfold here. And it is majestic drama today. It is the inauguration of a new president. You see the flags, you see the ceremony, you see the pomp and the circumstance that you should have. The inauguration of a new president. And again, watching the country watching, all the more important because of the events you just mentioned. One Wednesday ago, Donald Trump forever stained for a second time. 2 Wednesdays ago, Trump stained, I would argue, even more so, by first leading a rally and then urging his supporters to march on Capitol Hill, and then, if not more, of those supporters breaking into that building in a criminal act, attacking their own government. So this is a message today, not only of a transition of power, of a new administration, but of the strength and resilience of the system, of the democracy. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will walk into this building again, where both of them have worked as senators. They walk in as president-elect and vice president-elect. You see the lectern set up there for the ceremony. Scaled back some because of COVID, but still spectacular sight as we prepare. We're getting very close now. 90 minutes from now, Joe Biden will be the president of these United States.
The House leadership is going to be introduced momentarily, then the Senate leadership, then the VIPs will be introduced, including former Vice President Dan Quayle, the former President Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, the former President George W. Bush and Laura Bush, former President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. Anderson, it's all explicitly timed out as we get ready for around noon when Joe Biden will become the 46th President of the United States.
Yeah, and again, such a stark contrast to just 2 weeks ago, what we saw happening at the Capitol on those very steps that the Bidens walked up. David Axelrod, you have been there at the inauguration of President Obama. What's happening behind the closed door?
Well, a lot of excitement. I must say that the rituals of this are familiar, but they've never been more important than now. And one of my recollections, people are milling around in the Speaker's office speaking at terrorists and so on. I was waiting for President Obama there to give him something before he went out to be sworn in, and President Bush arrived first. He was just leaving office, and we had not been terribly kind to him in the campaign. He knew that, and he could not have been more encouraging to me personally. And I remember him putting his arm on his shoulder and said, "Just remember this. You're going to do great, but appreciate every minute, because it's going to go by faster than you'll ever think, and it's going to be the ride of your life. There's nothing better." And I thought, what a gracious note. And I'm so happy to see him here, because his appearance here is symbolically so important for our country, to understand that we are first American, and that when we transfer power from one administration to another, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, we have a vested interest in your success. That hopefully will be part of the spirit with which people will receive Biden's address today.
I can't tell you how wonderful it was to see those couples walking up those steps just a few moments ago. 2 weeks ago today, it was an occupied place. It was a crime scene. And now we have democracy rising. And another thing I think about, Anderson, is that to Biden, the Capitol is his second home. And when he walks through these halls, unlike Barack Obama, he knows where he's going. And it must be an odd feeling for him right now to say, well, I'm leaving the Capitol now to go to the White House.
There's obviously Scalise and Clyburn. Evan, there is also something just about the sort of mundane milling around that's kind of comforting and soothing. You know, it's something we see every 4 years, but given all the tumult and agita that this country has been through, it is a new beginning.
It is. You know, for Joe Biden, that space, that Capitol building has been about the milling around. You know, one of the things he did was he kept his locker in the Senate gym even after he went over to the vice presidency, because he liked to come back and be among senators, be among members of the House. And, you know, one of the things that he said to me at one point was he watched the culture of the Congress degrade over time. He remembered when Bill Clinton, then president, had been called Bubba for the first time by somebody in the Congress. And he said, there's been a cultural change in it, and it's not going to go anywhere good. And this was years ago that he sort of picked up on this. I also think it's important that he used to sit sometimes on the floor of the Senate on the other side of the aisle. He'd sit with his friend John McCain, and it bothered him actually that the leadership of both parties had said, you know, we don't think that's a good idea. It doesn't look good. And so he'd sort of, they had to go back to their respective sides of the aisle. That's not how he sees this place.
First of all, we had a near-death experience for our democracy. I mean, that's you know, you're talking about watching people go back up the stairs, and what Gloria was saying, that's so powerful. It wasn't nice, and now it's not. And now it's not. And you know, and I think that Joe Biden is going to train us to see the world differently. We got trained to look for threats under Trump, and to look for things to block and to be scared of. He's going to teach us how to look for opportunities, for common ground, for ways to come together. And it's happening right now. And these are members of Congress. It's happening right now. Here we have people from different parties coming together, sit down, restoring these rituals, you know, and it does matter. And for me, you know, I was one of the people, you know, out in the crowd with Obama when Obama came. You guys were up there. I was out in the crowd. We were cold.
You look good, by the way.
A little place. I had my aunt with me. We were shivering, and Obama came out, and like I said, that feeling of hope was palpable. I think the hope is different now. It's more about faith. Our faith has been tested, and our faith endures. And I think I think you're going to see a different country come out of this.
Well, you were among 2 million people who were out there. When I was sitting on that platform, I was looking at a sea of humanity. There will be no one there, and that will be symbolic of the challenge that we face. But when I watched soon-to-be President Biden come up those steps, it struck me that he walked those steps for the first time in 1973 as a young senator. His colleagues included people who served with Calvin Coolidge and Franklin Roosevelt. And now, 48 years later, he's walking up those steps, and he is a link to the past and a beacon to a better future. And it's really an interesting position. Who would have predicted that at this stage in his life he would be in that position?
Capper, as President-elect Biden, soon to be President Biden, looks out, he won't see that sea of people that President Trump saw. He'll see a sea of flags, 200,000 flags representing people who are not there. A reminder of the 400,000 dead in this country, and that number still on the rise.
Anderson, it is a day of solemnity because of all that loss, and also because of the terrorist threat that has required this intense security here at the Capitol. It's amazing. You look back at images of this exact spot in the Capitol 2 weeks ago, and it was the scene of an insurrection, a terrorist attack. But here it is, a day of majesty and celebration of transition of power, if not peaceful transition of power.
It sounds like they're announcing the leadership of the Senate.
Honorable Dick Durbin and Mrs. Rima Godin. Majority Whip, the Honorable John Thune and Mrs. Kimberly Thune. Democratic Leader, the Honorable Charles Schumer and Mrs. Irish Weinschall Schumer. And President Pro Tempore of the Senate, the Honorable Chuck Grassley and Mrs. Jennifer Hines.
leadership of the U.S. Senate, the longest-serving members of the Senate in both parties, President Pro Tem, I guess outgoing, Chuck Grassley, and likely the incoming will be Patrick Leahy, another constitutional role in the succession line.
Yeah, it's a really important moment for the United States and also for the world. The world saw American democracy be truly tested over the last 2 months. And, you know, it looked wobbly there a few times, especially 2 weeks ago in this exact same spot. But the world is now watching as American democracy continues.
Former Vice President
There's
Dan
former
Quayle.
Vice President Dan Quayle.
But it's for that moment, but for that same reason that I think this is a moment of celebration for this country. I mean, inaugurations, we don't have the crowds today, but inaugurations are a big day for this country. All of this pomp and circumstance that you're seeing, the flags, the ceremony, these are traditions that go back pretty far in this country. And for most Americans, they only get to see it every 4 years, and they're seeing it again today, even in spite of what we witnessed and experienced as a country in the last couple of weeks. This is the process that we are experiencing as a nation once again.
Dan Quayle, of course, held the job that Vice President, which Joe Biden held.
Former Indiana senator.
Right, Joe Biden will be the 15th Vice President to be sworn in as president.
Which is
Let's go with Jeff Zeleny, who's down there, who has some news that is interesting in light of one of the heroes from 2 weeks ago. Jeff?
Jake, we have been talking all morning long about how this is the exact site of the riot at the Capitol, but one other moment from inside that insurrection that we can all remember so clearly is Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman. He held rioters at bay for some 85 seconds to get senators out of harm's way, to get the Vice President out of harm's way. We've all seen that viral video. Today we are learning that he is going to be escorting Vice President-elect Kamala Harris into the inauguration ceremony. He is going to be walking side by side with her. He's also going to be coming with a new title. He's going to be the acting deputy House Sergeant at Arms. So certainly, a monumental move for just the last 2 weeks. He's 40 years old, an Iraq War veteran in Washington, D.C. Will be walking side by side with a historic person in her own right, Senator Kamala Harris, becoming the next Vice President of the United States, with Officer Eugene Goodman next to her.
Okay, so Jeff, we can't really hear you very well, so let me just tell the viewers what you're reporting, which is that Vice President-elect Kamala Harris is being escorted to the inauguration ceremony by Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman, who you might recall from his heroism 2 weeks ago. He led a group of the insurrectionists away from the Senate. He kind of served as a decoy and led them away from where they wanted to go, which was the floor of the U.S. Senate. Now, some other rioters, terrorists, did find their way to the Senate, but in that initial assault, he guided them away. Since then, Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman, who is a veteran as well, has a new role. He is the acting deputy sergeant at arms in the House of Representatives.
The Honorable Dan Quayle.
Wolf?
Dan Quayle just introduced, here he is, just walking in. The first of several major VIPs arriving right now. There's Dan Quayle, the former Vice President of the United States, showing up, John, and he's going to be followed by former President Bill Clinton, former President George W. Bush, former President Barack Obama. An enormous display of goodwill from these former presidents of the United States.
An enormous display and a very important display. Again, 2 weeks ago, there were thugs, rioters, running through that building, attacking the American democracy. Today, we're watching the former vice president here. We'll see that former presidents come out right behind him, showing America and showing the world that building that was the site, it was a crime scene 2 weeks ago today. It is a stage today for a very important moment in the American democracy. Dan Quayle, I should note, a reminder, we lost President George H.W. Bush, but also that was the last presidency, a one-term presidency. George H.W. Bush served one term. After that, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama both elected to 2 terms. Donald Trump, of course, leaving Washington today after 1 term as president. It is a remarkable show of force, a bipartisan show of power here, an American tradition, but as Jake was just talking about, an American tradition that was a question mark 2 weeks ago when that building was being attacked, and many were questioning what was happening. Why would an American president send his supporters to attack a shrine of American democracy? But today we can turn the page on that, Wolf.
After the former presidents are introduced, the Chief Justice, other justices of the U.S. Supreme Court will be introduced. And then significantly, John, the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, and Karen Pence, they will be introduced as well. Missing in action, one Donald Trump.
He has never respected the traditions and norms, the things, forgive me, that make America great, that truly make America great. These are the things that make America great. When everybody decides for a few hours, for a day, we can set aside partisan differences. We will get about those debates. Joe Biden wants to change just about every policy compass point of the Trump administration. Those debates will begin perhaps even before the sun sets. But this is what is supposed to happen. We watch the flags, we listen to the band, we watch the leaders of our past parade onto the stage to be part of the ceremony to pass the baton and the torch. You see former President Clinton, former Secretary.
They're walking in. They're going to be introduced momentarily. Jamie Gangel is with us as well. You got some information on these former presidents who are going to be attending and celebrating this moment in American history.
I have to tell you, Wolf, when the inauguration was being planned, I was asked to reach out to both former President Clinton and former President Bush to find out whether they would be attending. And I got the same response from both of them, sitting here waiting for my invitation. They were really excited to come and to be here. And I think it should also be noted that former President George Bush was one of the first people to make a statement congratulating Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And he didn't just make a statement, he picked up the phone and called them. Wolf?
Yep, but there they are, the former President Bill Clinton. Hillary Clinton, who was defeated 4 years ago by Donald Trump, she's here as well at the U.S. Capitol. They are about to be formally introduced, and they'll be followed by former President George W. Bush.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 42nd President of the United States, the Honorable William J. Clinton, and the Honorable Hillary Rodham Clinton.
And there's former President George W. Bush and Laura Bush. They're getting ready to walk in as well. This is an exciting moment for those of us, John, who love American history, who love covering presidents of the United States, Democrats and Republicans. They're getting together at this really historic moment.
And think of the remarkable moment. A, the message this sends to the country and to the world, to have the former presidents there of both parties. George W. Bush has watched Donald Trump run against him in some ways, run against the old Republican Party. So this is a moment where, trust me, he's quite happy that Donald Trump is gone, even though Donald Trump is a Republican. And imagine the moment for Hillary Clinton. And imagine all the scorn Republicans heap on Hillary Clinton. She had the dignity and respect to come and attend this event 4 years ago, even after the campaign against Donald Trump. She's here again today in a much better mood.
Another introduction.
and gentlemen, the 43rd President of the United States, the Honorable George W. Bush and Mrs. Laura Bush.
George W. Bush and Laura Bush. Jamie Gangel, you're getting some reporting. What else are you learning?
Well, I have to say I'm laughing as I'm watching them come down, Wolf, because you may recall that even though he's a Republican, former President Bush did not vote for Donald Trump in 2016. He left it blank. I think it's pretty fair to guess he did not vote for him in 2020 either. But it's what a difference 4 years make when at the last inauguration, President Bush was famously quoted after hearing Donald Trump's inauguration speech, the carnage speech, as saying, "That was some weird SH, you can fill in the rest." This is a small club, these former presidents. They are very, very close. They talk to each other. They organize. Donald Trump is not going to be a part of this group.
There you see the Supreme Court justices led by the Chief Justice of the United States, John Roberts, walking in as well. They will be introduced after